Hello, everybody. We are here and celebrating today for our 100th episode of the Health Coach Power Community podcast. Yay! Woo! Now, I had no idea that this episode was going to coincide with coronavirus and quarantine and everything else going on in the world right now. So, hey, we got to roll with it though. Sometimes you're going to be health coaching in the best of times and everything's going to be going great. And sometimes things are going to be a little bit weird, but nevertheless, some people were asking me this week, Michelle, how do you keep showing up? How do you keep doing your thing? You know, you're getting your content out, you're getting your emails out, still working with clients, like how amidst all this craziness are you doing that? And honestly, it's the routine. Like it's the routine that keeps me here. It's just like, oh yeah, it's Tuesday. We got to do an episode. Obviously, that's what I do at 2:00 on Tuesdays. And every day it's just like falling back into the systems and routines that you have in place. So if you're new to your business and you're like, I don't have any systems and routines, it's okay. Stick with us. We'll get you there. And if you've been in business for a while, then you know what I'm talking about. So today, to celebrate our big anniversary episode, I was thinking all the different things that we could do. We could go back and do like the top 10 episodes, or we could talk about, other wonderful things about the podcast. That's sometimes called navel gazing, like just kind of staring at our own navels, talking about like everything that's great about us. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. This is a community where that's what this whole show is based upon. And so I invited a couple real life health coaches who are doing some wonderfully successful things in their business to join us today. And I'm going to talk to them for a change of pace. Instead of just telling you what I'm doing or what I think, we're going to hear from other members of our community. So if you are here with us live, it's an awesome chance to connect not just with me, but like with your peers. So if you have any questions about anything that Kristen or Gabe are talking about, just go ahead and put that in the comments. And as always, we'll try to answer your questions live while we are on the air. So yeah, let's get into this. Oh, one more thing. Being that it is the 100th episode, and you guys have been so very generous with your iTunes reviews through the years now that we've been doing this show. If you're new to the show, or if you have just not yet gotten around to writing a review on iTunes, could you do me a solid and do it for the 100th episode? You just go on your phone, you go to the little Apple Podcast app, go to the reviews, and type something up for us. I would super duper appreciate that. It's been helping bring new amazing coaches into our community for the past couple of years. So I really appreciate all of you who've done so far. Oh, and I see that Katie is here. Hey, Katie. Thanks so much for joining us today. So two coaches that we're going to be talking to during this episode, I chose because they're kind of coming from two different walks of life in a way, not really walks of life, but in terms of health coaching walks of life. Kristen has been in business for several years now, 3 years, and she is been doing a lot. Kristen does all the things, you guys. Kristen, let's make sure you're off mute so that we can say hello. There you are. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me, Michelle.
Yay! Some of you may know Kristen because she helps admin the Health Coach Power Community Group. You may have seen her around. And one of the reasons that, of course, I asked her to do that, same thing. Kristen's got a lot of excellent experience. She's up in Boston. I know there's a lot of Boston health coaches. Do you guys all get together and hang out? Is there like a Friday night meetup?
Not yet, but we could start that.
A Zoom meetup, of course.
Zoom meetup, yep.
Yeah, during these challenging times. So Kristen, can you just real brief tell everybody what you've been up to for the past 3 years?
The past 3 years.
Summarize.
So yeah, I'm a non-diet holistic nutritionist. My company is Good Witch Kitchen. And yeah, I offer private coaching just like a lot of you. And I started mostly with cooking classes, and then I moved into more nutrition focused workshops. And that's basically what I do now, is just the coaching and the workshops. And I've moved the workshops online since I had to pivot a little bit.
Yeah, you sure have. So that's what I wanted to talk to you mostly about, because whenever I talk to Kristen, it's like she has been to every corporation in the Boston metro area. She shows up, she's doing workshops like a boss, and you've been doing this for years now. usually coaches are like, how do I even get this set up? Like, how did you make the connections in order to start doing these corporate workshops in the first place?
So I find it's really important to have connections. So people who work for these companies who can kind of hook you up. I have done cold emailing and reaching out on LinkedIn, and it actually worked for me this morning, but usually it
Yay.
doesn't. And yeah, so usually it doesn't. Usually it's I have a friend who works there who is in HR or who can connect me with the right person and vouch for me. That's 90% of the way that it gets done. So it's really good to just like ask around, ask your friends, let your friends know what you're doing and what you're offering so that they're able to tell the people who are in charge of those things about you, so they can really vouch for you. So that's the way I found works best.
Yeah, I agree. That is the way that works best. I don't it's hard though, unless at least at some point you just had to not be embarrassed to ask. Like, was it hard in the beginning?
A little bit, especially because, especially in-person things, now I feel it's a little easier, especially if you're in a place where you don't know a lot of bigger companies. Because I'm in Boston, I have easy access to bigger companies. If you're in like a rural area or a place that, a suburban place that doesn't have a lot of these things, or places with bigger budgets, it can be difficult. So now is a really good time to reach out to anyone. You don't have to be local. It's kind of nice to say like I'm a local person that you can support and I can support you, but at the same time there's no location barrier now if you're bringing stuff online, so now's a good time for that.
That's a really good point. And I want to talk more about how you're doing that. But my other question is, when you're going into these corporations, typically what topics are you bringing to them, or what are their HR people interested in having you there for?
So mostly, my most popular one is nutrition for a successful workday. So that's all about setting yourself up for the day, everything that you do throughout the day and how it affects you. So nutrition, sleep, exercise, and all that, all the stress management too, all the different aspects that go into it. And then with us, or if they have a lot of people who travel for work, then wellness while traveling. So things like that. I try to have multiple offerings so that if we do have a continued relationship, I'm not like struggling to find things to talk about.
Oh, yeah. So sometimes you're going in more than once to the same place. And how does that even work? Are they paying you per? Do they pay you for a series?
Most of the time they pay me per class, and then I'll reach out every few months. Or there's one company that I have a relationship with where they pay me a little less than my normal rate, but I also know that I'm going in regularly. So it's continued business. And you could be super flexible with your rate in that way. I mean, you're the business owner, you're allowed to do stuff like that. So typically I have people pay me day of, and then I have had in the past have people pay me for a series of workshops. So either way you want to do it, obviously better if you can get a series. But I mean, if you can just get your foot in the door with one, that can still open the door for a series of workshops in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I love that. And you don't have to answer this like down to the cent, but I know everybody always wants to know about how much are these companies paying you for your hour and a half workshop.
It really ranges depending on the company. For smaller businesses, like really small, I've gone as low as 150. And I've also gone as high as 800. So there's a huge range there, and it really depends on how many people are at the company and how many are attending. If it's the $800 one was where I broadcast the webinar. It was a webinar, and we broadcast it to. They had 28 offices around the country, so that was a little more expensive because I'm reaching a lot more people and giving them a lot more value. So it depends on a few different factors, but there's a big range.
Yeah, there's definitely a big range. Wow. How do you go about negotiating that? Do you come in with your base amount and then they kind of talk you down, or how do you generally approach the conversation?
So and I've from you is you just say the number with confidence and then see what happens. You know, and if I start with one number, and if they say it's not in their budget, and if I feel comfortable lowering it, I can say, well, if we expect to have a relationship moving forward, then I can lower the price, just knowing that we'll have a continued partnership. So it kind of gives them a little bit more value, and you're sort of ensuring yourself more business in the future. So there's different ways you can go about it, but that's how I like to do it.
I like that. I like that little maneuver right there.
Mhm.
So tell everybody how you've kind of pivoted and how you very quickly, just like everybody else, I feel in the world right now is like, oh no, we got to bring this all online. Did you have any set up that you suddenly had to do via Zoom instead of in person?
I didn't have any art. I was in the middle of setting some stuff up, so that that went to the wayside. One of them I was able to shift online and give them a new workshop that I created specifically for the coronavirus crisis. So that was a little bit easier to do, and I've taken that workshop that I came up with, and I've been starting to shop that around too.
That's awesome. You had a very well attended workshop just the other day. I thought you could share about that. You had hundreds and hundreds of people signed up for it.
Yeah, I partnered with the wellness website Holisticism, and it's not a wellness website for everyone. It's certainly a little bit niche. It's feminist, intersectional. It's a little bit witchy. I'm a little bit witchy. Good Witch Kitchen, so it kind of fits with it. And my workshop was called Potions with Purpose, and it was about crafting herbal elixirs. So it was a little bit of herbalism, mysticism, and it fit really well with their audience. So they were actually, they put a call out for people to teach workshops, because their way of pivoting in this crisis was to have wellness practitioners offer workshops through their website. And they have a huge following. They have something like 50,000 email subscribers. So it was a free workshop, and I knew that it would be really good for exposure. So I did it that way. And I didn't just, email say like, hey, I have a workshop. I've actually been part of their community for a while. So that's really important, is if you are trying to work with a bigger company like that, or a company with a bigger following, it's good to actually have a relationship with them first, and not just be like, hey, it's me, can like hire me,
Yeah.
It's good to be part of their community, so they know you or get to know you, or they at least recognize your name and know that you're part of them. And so that was really helpful.
Awesome. So let's end on this question, or this may be more than one question, but the topic of then how do you take these workshops and turn these workshop participants into paying clients, or how has that funneling effect worked or not worked for you?
So with the corporate wellness workshops, I don't sell in them, because it's more of like a perk that the company pays for the employees. So selling's kind of frowned upon unless you talk about it beforehand. I have gotten clients through corporate wellness workshops. So if you're just continuously giving value, you're being paid. So you're going to want to get or give a lot of value, and the employees get a lot out of that. So they see what you can do, and it's good exposure for you. For the one that I did this weekend, a free workshop, I got all the emails. We had 450 people sign up, which was amazing. So what I'm doing with that is I'm following up and sending them a freebie. It's something that I would normally have like as a downloadable PDF on my website, but instead I'm just sending it to them as a thank you. So it's even more value to offer them. And at the end of the freebie, of course, I'm adding a call to action, book with me. And I'm just trying to continuously stay up with them and give them value that's relevant to the workshop.
I agree with you. Just by showing up and doing the workshops, I mean, I haven't done corporate workshops in a long time myself, but I found like these are people who, first of all, they're earning a paycheck because you are finding them at their place of work. So that's good. They are generally people who could afford to hire a health coach, and like they'll contact you. A lot of times the sales doesn't have to be done in like a pushy manner, right? They'll just turn around and email and say like, oh, you came in like last week. It was amazing. Like, how do I sign up to be a client? That's been my
Yeah, and
experience.
sometimes what I'll do is follow up with my contact at the office, and either send them like a one sheet or like a one page takeaways PDF or something for them to send to the employees so that it's kind of like another touch point for them, or just like let me know how the employees felt about it, just get some feedback so that way they're still thinking about you afterwards.
Ah, very smart. Very, very smart. And would you say most of your clients, or like what percentage of your private clients have trickled to you through your workshops?
I'm not sure about an actual percentage, but I would say um, every few, it's hard to say a number because I'm not sure, but it's like every few workshops I feel gets an actual client.
Every few workshops. Okay, so
I
there's
know
a
that's not a
steady stream
specific
coming
number.
in. That's okay. We didn't work out the math ahead of time. I just thought I'd just your gut instinct on kind of how that was working. But they're all no, they're not all. Are they added to your mailing list when you're doing a corporate workshop?
Not always, because they don't always want to share their emails, but sometimes they will let me know. They'll give me the emails of the people who actually attended versus everyone in the company that the invite went out to.
Oh, of course, of course. Or sometimes I suppose during the workshop you could offer, like, here, put your name on my list, or
I've
other.
done that too. Yep.
Okay,
Like if
good.
there's something I talked about in the workshop and say, oh, if you want more info about that, I can email you. Just write down your email at the end.
Perfect. Good. Well, thanks so much for sharing all this great information. This is a topic I don't talk about too much because it's not my area of expertise. So I knew you'd be a great person to share about it. Everyone's always asking about doing the corporate workshops. And you guys, workshops, I always say this, they are the best way to get started. Now, I know right now we're all in lockdown mode and you're not going anywhere to hold workshops, but you will soon. We will get back. And even if you're doing online workshops right now, I just feel like it is the best combination of just getting experience working with people, right? Even if they don't become your clients, like you're in the room with them for an hour, you're interacting. That is great experience right there. It's a way to build your mailing list, like Kristen just talked about, and it can be a very fast way between you and a brand new paying client. Because if someone runs into your stuff online, they haven't really met you. It often takes a while for them to warm up to you. They could be on your mailing list for like a good year before they ever reach out to become a client. But I have found that sometimes for like a brand new introduction to a person, in person gets that done much faster. They know you, they like you, and they trust you much more quickly because they've actually had that in person experience with you. So it can be the fastest way between you and putting some cash in your pocket and helping a new person all at the same time. So give it up for workshops. Thank you so much, Kristen. Oh, and tell everybody your website URL in case they want to eavesdrop.
Thanks for having me. You can find me at goodwitchkitchen.net and also Instagram, Good Witch Kitchen.
Good Witch Kitchen. We can remember that. Awesome. All right, so moving right along here. Kristen was our example of a coach who's been doing this for a little while. As you can see, she has a lot of experience, a lot of varied experience, which is what I love about you, Kristen, because you're doing like, on one hand, you're doing like pretty buttoned up corporate stuff, nutrition for the workplace or nutrition. And then on the other hand, you're doing like the witchy potions and, like that sort of thing. So you have range, woman, and you have a lot of good experience doing all of it. So you guys should definitely check her out and follow her on Instagram. But as sort of a contrast to that, I invited Gabe to join us today because Gabe is just starting out, like so many of you. And so I wanted you to hear from someone who is also just putting himself out there for the very first time. And to be doing so during a global pandemic is not a small feat. So Gabe, let's make sure you're off mute so we can hear you. There you are. Hey Gabe, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
Awesome, just awesome. I kind of was hoping for a more celebratory 100th anniversary of the show, but I'm reframing it that it is a huge celebration because we are finding these successes even amidst all of this nonsense going on. But you have a really great story to share. I'm going to ask you all about that in a second. Before I do, just tell us a little bit about you becoming a health coach. Like, when did you actually get certified? And is this like a career change for you?
Yeah, definitely. I got certified a little over a year ago through the Primal Health Coach Institute. And it was after a period where I was going through some rough times with my current career that I'm still in now. I work as a chef in restaurants. And I was going through one summer and I was basically working 3 jobs at once because hours were getting cut everywhere, and I was pretty much killing myself. And I needed some type of career change. I had to get out of it. I was initially looking for doing something like being a personal chef, but I wanted some nutrition sort of like twist to it because I'm like, oh, I can meal prep for someone and like make them healthy meals. But I didn't have any credentials saying that I could make you really nutritious meals. So I started looking at health coach certificates and then decided, hey, this actually might be what I want to do instead. So after doing some research, picked one, and I've just been trying to pursue it ever since. It's been hard getting myself out there the past year, even though I've had my certificate, because of my work-life balance or lack of one in the restaurant industry. So I just pretty much been using my spare time to learn as much as I could, educating myself and like getting the website up, trying to build a little bit. But as they say, build it, they will come. That's not true.
That is not true.
Not true at all. So I can tell that after the past year, yeah, I made that website. I did little posts on my personal, social media profiles, and of course, no takers for a whole year. So I had to try to get a little bit more outreach, and that's when I saw the offer to join your Healthy Profit University course, and I jumped right into it.
You've been doing a lot of really good work, and I want to talk about your recent success, but I also love, just your willingness to share that it is hard and you can waste a lot of time in the beginning. I mean, I think all of us have been there. So we'll talk about your big win, but first, like, what's been one of your most cringe-worthy fails over the past year? And then I'll share one too.
I have to say it was the beginning of this year, so it was before I went into the Healthy Profit University. I had tried to see if I could take advantage of the New Year's resolutioners. So I created this like 1 month, hey, come in and try out this like this keto basic 4-week keto diet thing, and I'll coach you through it for a month. And some people are like, that kind of sounds interesting, but I'll pass. So I promoted that for a good week, maybe longer, trying to get people in on it, and yeah, just no takers, and kind of hurt a little hard because that was like the first time I really tried to put myself out there more than I had before, and crickets.
And crickets. I know that happens sometimes. All right, I promised if you shared one, I would share one. So the one that I have so many. The one that comes to mind was a workshop. Speaking of workshops, that I held in my first year of business, and I booked it for the day after my 30th birthday, and didn't think much of it, and then went out on my 30th birthday and drank way too much and how embarrassing is this? And showed up for my workshop like very hungover and did not do a good job and was so embarrassed forever and never went back to that yoga studio again for anything. Ah! Mistakes upon mistakes. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit because that's embarrassing. So just in like the past week or two, Gabe, you've been doing a lot of good work, as you mentioned, inside Healthy Profit University. And we got to the point where I was saying like, okay, like get out there and find your first clients. Kind of hard right now with this pandemic going on, but you did it. So tell everybody how you are getting paid as the first time as a health coach right now.
Yeah, that definitely was something that it felt really good when that was finally able to happen. But I think I have to say it really helped me out was that earlier part in the course when we were trying to figure out our target market, and that was something I was struggling with for the past year. It was like, okay, I kind of had a vague idea who I could help, but I didn't really have a narrow target market. Once I was able to determine that in the course, then I just started reaching out to people, getting interviews to see what sort of program they would want, what sort of help they were looking for. And during that process, I kind of found my target market mostly being like corporate men in their 30s or looking to lose weight or get back into shape, exercising more, and kind of get coached through that. And once this whole pandemic kind of started and then we're all quarantined at home, my target market is now just stuck at home. Like they're still working, hopefully, and they're still making their income, but they're just trapped in their house or their apartment right now, and they have nothing but time, which is one of the big things with some people I was interviewing, which is an obstacle for them trying to get healthier was they didn't have the time for it. Like sometimes money was once in a while a reason, but for the most part, if they're like, I just don't have the time right now. So they have nothing but time, and in fact, they're probably saving money because they can't go out to do anything right now. So I just started reaching out back out to these people who said they would have been interested if they had the time. And one of them actually reached out to me first. And it's like, hey, I know we're talking about this before. It's like, I got time now. Like, hey, let me go and reach out to some of the people talking before and see if they're interested too. Had 6 people interested, half of them committed. And now I've got my first ever group program that I'm being paid for as a health coach.
Congratulations. That is excellent work. We are proud of you. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here with us today, Gabe.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, and tell everybody your website URL before I forget.
My website is fuelyourlife.kitchen. And that's actually my handle for all my social media. So
fuelyourlife.kitchen. You're so cool with the .kitchen. Who knew?
Hey, when you're a chef, you got to throw the culinary know-how in there, a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know Kayla was going to be here or not, but Kayla showed up, you guys. Woo! So we got one more health coach to talk to today. We're going to run over just by a few minutes because Kayla's got a great story to share. I invited Kayla to join us because she, like Gabe, is pretty new to the game, but she's been rocking it with her Facebook group and building an audience over the past few months. So let me get you off mute. There you are. Hey, Kayla.
Hey, Michelle. Hi, everyone.
Hi. I'm so excited for you to tell everybody about your Facebook group. First, Ken, just share about your target market and why we decided to go with a Facebook group for them.
Yes, so my target market is women who are military spouses, and specifically women whose service members are currently going through a deployment. And I chose to work with this target market because I've been there myself before. And I think that health coaching is such a needed service for these women because so many of them, and myself included, just want to wow their significant other when they come back from being gone for months and months overseas. And, it's a struggle. Deployment is stressful. A lot of them end up being single parents for some amount of time. And it's really challenging. So I think that having the extra help is just really welcome.
That's awesome. And we knew about, I'm saying we, because you and I talked a lot about this as you went through the process. We know that these are women who really crave community and come together and they want to talk to each other. You say that's accurate? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So it felt like a Facebook group would allow them to do just that.
Yes, a Facebook group is wonderful because it's a place where they can kind of all come together and share what's working for them, share the struggles, and really just have sort of a common ground to feel understood, because it's a population that I think very frequently feels kind of alone. So yes, a Facebook community is just perfect.
So what I want everybody to hear about this is that, first of all, Kayla has a very specific target market. If you were like, oh, I work with busy moms, so does half the world. And if you tried to start a Facebook group around that, it would get lost in all the noise. And you do, in fact, work with busy moms, but busy moms who are military spouses whose husbands are deployed. And that is what I think has helped you carve this niche for yourself so very, very well. So when you started on day one, how many people were in your Facebook group?
0, absolute 0. This is one of those target audiences that I felt it would do me absolutely no good to invite my mom or my sister or my
right.
because none of them could relate either. So yes, started with absolutely 0. And to date, we've just gone over the 400 member mark, which is really exciting.
Yay. And that's only been in the matter of a couple of months, 2 months?
Yeah,
3 months?
just a few months. I started this really, really new, just at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so that's amazing. I wanted you to share a few more things because, like we talked about with Kristen, right? There's like a journey that you take with your prospective clients. First, you have to meet them in some capacity. Then you need to get them onto your mailing list. Then you can start selling to them, usually in that order. There are some exceptions. So what are some ways that you've been taking these 400 members in your group and getting them onto your mailing list?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I made the title of my group very self-explanatory. So I included the word deployment in the title to kind of hopefully hook some of the women who are specifically going through this and looking for a Facebook community surrounding the deployment subject. And then in my join questions, when someone asks to join my private group, it specifically says, would you like extra support? Feel free to drop your email address. And I've been pretty successful with that. So far, about half of the people do go ahead and give me their email address. And with that, I'll go ahead and just manually add it to my list. Aside from that, whenever people get into my group, after I have, so many, like maybe 10 or 12, or when it's been about 1 week, I'll do a specific post just welcoming everyone to the group. And I think it's very important to not just to welcome them, but to invite them to share something about themselves in the group, because it's immediately going to get them kind of invested in being there. So if people join the group and immediately start to kind of share and get feedback and invest, they'll feel like this is a place they want to keep coming back to. And then aside from that, I've kind of tried to continue that momentum by just engaging people in sharing, I don't know, whatever I think they would probably feel interested in sharing on the page. So I might ask just some really open-ended questions. I might make it an announcement so that more people see it. And then that really kind of gets the group hopping with people wanting to share more about themselves and their stories. And it makes the page a place where people feel like they want to hang out.
Yeah, and you do such a great job of engaging this audience. I love it. And then you're doing things like giveaways and challenges. And in this way, you've been able to, again, like convert them not just to be active in the group, but to get on your mailing list. And you had a pretty good success recently. We're running the challenge and you ended up with some new private clients out of that, right?
Yes, yes. So I did my first ever 5-day challenge back in, I think it was February when
Oh
I did.
God, it feels like 3 years ago at this point.
It feels like forever ago, but it was just February. I did a 5-day challenge and it was, pretty base level. It was very simplistic, but all that I did was create a very simple landing page with ConvertKit. And I shared that not just in my Facebook group, but I also shared it in a few other military spouse Facebook groups where I thought people might be interested. And I did get several people not only kind of hop onto my challenge and my mailing list, but also they joined my Facebook group as a result of seeing that. And I got more people who were already in my Facebook group to join my mailing list because they joined the challenge. And it was really kind of neat just to see how they engaged with this brand new content that I had created and really kind of got something out of it. And then at the end of my challenge, I did a giveaway, basically just a drawing. I would kind of reward people for engaging on my page by entering them into a drawing, which I would then go live on my Facebook group. And I would do the drawing and they would actually get to see who won in real time.
That reminds me of when I was a kid, they would do the lottery numbers. All the balls would roll around and then like they'd pull up, it's a 3. And then do you guys remember this? And they would do the lotto. It was like in between shows during prime time. But it makes for good drama. And you show up in your group for your group in such an amazing way. And it's so cool to see it now paying off and in clients and paying clients for you. So thank you so much for sharing about that, Kayla. And just tell everybody, I guess, first your website, but also the name of the group in case anybody just wants to take a peek.
Yeah, so at this point, a website is still kind of in the works. I don't have one running yet, but my group is called Deployment Weight Loss Support Community. Kind of a long name, but it just says it all.
It does say it all. And did you guys all hear that? Kayla is rocking her business and getting clients and doesn't have a website yet, and it doesn't matter. Yes. Somebody needed to hear that. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, I am so thrilled to be able to introduce you to some members of your very own community. A lot of times in our group, we're hearing about everybody's challenges or concerns, or this isn't working, or that's not working. But we have so many coaches who are succeeding and doing wonderful work in the world. So big ups to all of you. Thank you to the three of you for sharing your stories with us today. And we will be back next week for our 101st episode of the podcast. See you there.